Most people spend their lives protecting their bodies, and you spent 30 years challenging it in every way you can.
Life should not be a journey to the grave where you arrive in a perfectly preserved body. The outdoors lights people up in a way nothing else does. You're going to get cold, wet, hungry. It's going to beat you up a little bit, but at the end of it, you'll have a light in your eye. I remember Federer saying to me, he's more nervous doing this than the final of Wimbledon.
This is like before a match now, so I start to feel the pulse going boom, boom.
You've hung out with and adventures with some of the most incredible names in the world: Obama, Bradley Cooper, Ben Stiller. What was something that you learned from some of the most incredible people in the world, you know, when working with them that you probably haven't voiced before?
It's a good question.
You went fully vegan, and then you went completely the opposite direction.
Life and experience is a hard teacher. Actually, veganism can be
You write about anxiety and self-doubt, but, you know, some people call you the toughest man alive. What are you terrified of?
I think
Today's guest has spent decades surviving in places that would completely break 99.9% of all humans. And what fuels him is nothing like what sits on your supplement shelf. I'll show you what he built for fuel for his family, so stick around.
Bear, thank you for coming on.
nice to be with you, yeah.
It's
Hottest day of the year, I think. It's good. We're surviving though.
We are.
Keeps us honest.
Yeah, I would say for me this is an extreme environment, but I think for you,
That's well, it is.
So I think it's really interesting because I've been following your journey for a long time, and as I imagine a lot of the people watching this episode is, and I'd really love them to have a little bit of a background understanding on, you know, why you're so into fitness and health and some of the things you've done. I mean, you broke your back at 21, and then I think it was 2 years later you were climbing Everest. What actually got you to be able to do that, would you say?
I think at the time I was a soldier. I was a young guy, young trooper with 21 SAS, with the Reserve SAS Regiment, doing a job I loved. Really found a tribe there, you know, like-minded, great camaraderie with great people that are still a wonderful part of my life. But I think as a young guy, I really found a family. And having that parachuting accident whilst I was there, breaking my back in 3 places, whilst jumping in Africa, spent many months back in the UK in rehabilitation. And I think what I felt is like the rug has been pulled from under me, you know, and that loss of identity. And suddenly they were saying, you're not going to be able to do this job again. You're not going to be able to parachute again. You're not going to be able to do anything again. You know, I was struggling to cross the room to go to the bathroom. That was like my Everest. And actually was a really dark time, you know. It wasn't, everyone goes, oh, you must be very positive. And it actually wasn't like that. I really struggled. And I think my family were incredible, and the treatment I got there was incredible, and my good friends and my faith helped me through that journey. But I think above all, like having a goal. And I started to climb at a young age with my dad. Who'd been a former Royal Marines commando. It was such a sort of bonding experience always for me, climbing with him just on little stuff on the sea cliffs around the Isle of Wight where I was brought up. And I think in that hospital, I wanted to refine that identity of like, hold on, I'm gonna get strong enough to reach this bathroom without pain. And then I'm gonna be able to do it on the floor above and the floor above. And I'm gonna, whatever it takes, like I'm gonna climb again. And my job in the Special Forces was a lot of the combat survival and the climbing, and it was like, I will get back to climbing. And Everest just became a huge focus for me. It had been a huge dream of mine when I was a kid with my dad, but a kind of dream out here, you know. But I think in that hospital, it was a tangible thing of like, this is what I want to get strong enough for. And even though it felt a long way away, it was something to hold on to. And I look back in life and I kind of, sometimes the things that sideswipe us hard in our lives, and they come in many forms, don't they? These monsters and gremlins when they come, and everybody listening to it, everyone has faced them or will face it. But they can actually be the making of us. And I think that has been a life journey to realize when those things happen, it's like step in rather than step back, kind of like embrace it. This is, new things are going to open, and it can often really be the beginning and not the end.
I love that. and it's a common thing I hear with people in the health space is like, what got you here? Why have you got so much energy behind the mission? It's like, well, actually, because this happened to me and I wanted to find my way out, and then I wanted to help the world, including myself. And I love that you've come from that, and obviously you've taken it extremely mainstream. Like it's amazing how many people actually know your story and know the things that you've gone through, and you're very open. And I think one thing that I really like is you're very open about your journey and some of the things that you've battled as well. So it's really nice that that's, you know, kind of like springboarded you onto doing excellence. And it's actually the point that one of the things when researching for this episode that really struck with me is dib. Really, really did, because I'd heard it my whole life, you know, and
you might need to explain that one.
Yeah, so it stands for do your best, which I never knew.
Well, it's a scouting motto. Yeah. It's a scout motto, and it's actually beautiful. You know, and the more I see it, the more I kind of think about that. It's so right. You know, so much of life is, we grow up and school culture, it's like, you got to be the best, you got to get the A's, you got to, you know, and then even your world and all the health stuff, it's all about kind of optimization of the best. And it's like, it's, I'm not sure how real that is. I just think like people want sort of connection with real stuff and have real battles, and they want to be able to show those honest sides themselves. And actually the thing is, where there's vulnerability, there's connection. And so I'm more and more sort of suspicious of the perfect facade. And the thing of dib is not be the best, it's do your best. And I think why the Scouts are so brilliant is that it gives kids who maybe aren't the best at school a chance to be their best, you know, and to do their best. And it's a beautiful motto. You don't have to kind of like win at everything. You just got to turn up, try and put a smile on your face and do your best. And it became that thing. It was the old traditional dib, and then they would all reply, that whole scout troop. I've seen it done by tens of thousands of scouts. So that's a power. And then they go dob, which was do our best. And it's, I don't know, it's become a quiet sort of life motto for me. It's like, and I live in a world where everyone's good at all they do. You know, I'm surrounded by brilliant sort of talented people all the day, much more talented than me, much kind of smarter, fitter, stronger, better, more natural athletes, more natural this. And long ago I learned I can't compete with all of that. I don't want to compete with that. I don't want my whole life to be a sort of battle of competition. You know, actually I want to build consensus together. I want to build great teams and have them rooted in honesty and vulnerability. So I try to always embrace that spirit of we're in this together. Life's going to be a battleground, but side by side, we'll win many battles. We're going to have a lot of scars, but do your best.
I love that. I mean, I was brought up on a very similar premise from my grandmother, which is, you know, there's a way around everything. It's just a matter of finding it, and, you know, various other things. But from an age of 5 or 6, and I realized how much of an influence that had on my adult life of always having this mindset that we figure it out. We're always, and so when I heard dib and the meaning of it, I was like, wow, what an affirmation for young boys to have from, you know, a group other than their father as well as their father, instead as a father that's not present or not guiding or wasn't supportive. It's just like literally so powerful. And it's one of the things I think resonated with me most out of everything that I've seen, because it's just so powerful. There's a constant reminder. And in groups, as we know, social influence of, you know, our viewpoints on world, or those that we hang around with, shape who we are massively, even down to our use of language. It's like, so I just really wanted to touch on that, because I think this, for anyone that it goes through health issues or struggles, you know, always do your best, opposed to competing. And when I think of the word optimization, and it's a controversial word sometimes, it's like always to be better. But the way that I hear it is always to improve. Is it always up your baseline to be the best version of you?
And that's a great way of trying to live, you know. But I just think it's having that vulnerability and humility that we're going to get things wrong, and it is a journey. And you know, sometimes journeys have failures and backward steps, and that's kind of all part of it.
Hey, I'm Tim Gray. I'm the host of the Health Optimization Podcast, where we bring the absolute best from around the world in the health space to teach you the things that you could be doing to be healthier and happier.
So, I mean, most people spend their lives protecting their bodies, and you spent pretty much 30 years challenging it in every way you can.
I don't know. I like sometimes pay the price for it a little bit, but I don't know. I always love that quote that says, life should not be a journey to the grave where you arrive in a perfectly preserved body. I do kind of look at some of these people on Instagram and they're, I love so much of the longevity stuff for sure, but kind of sometimes it's like this quest to preserve your body at all costs. And I kind of think, part of me feels like to arrive at the end of your life in that perfectly preserved body is kind of a waste, and the quote goes on to say, you want to arrive skidding in sideways, covered in scars, screaming, Yahoo, what a ride, And I've always tried to live like that. I don't hide away from the scars and the scrapes, physical as well as the inner ones as well that we all pick up along the way. Because actually I've learned that actually our story, they what make us, will make you interesting, will make you kind of relatable, hopefully, as well. I mean, I really sort of struggle with the side of TV that is always, and my job, it's always kind of making out to be like, the kind of hero, the music thumping, they're kind of like, and I actually spend most of my life deconstructing this with people, and it's nobody's fault, but you go and speak on stage or you turn up at something and it's always like, there's an expectation. And I don't want to play that game. It's not real. You're like, it's like behind every great moment on a TV show, there are thousands sort of stumbles, trips, falls, oohs, ahs, like, getting it wrong. And actually more and more over the years, we don't shy away from including all of those because it's actually a real part of my job in terms of survival. Is like figuring it out, always improvising, failing, adapting, going again, overcoming, never give up. It's why that has become such a mantra. It's not a platitude for me. It's like a state of mind of how to live my life. And if you're going to come screaming and covered in scars at the end of your life, it's because sometimes you've crashed a little bit, but great to live. And we're called to live life and to be grateful for it and give it our all. And power comes from that, I think.
It's, as you're saying this, I'm remembering an Instagram meme I saw. It was just like, your life can be this or that. And it was an old clapped out car with the wheels falling off at the finish line, or a Ferrari that's sparkling. And it's
so good. Yeah. So good. I mean, there is there's probably a happy medium somewhere in there, because it's not always fun with all the wheels falling off all the time, And I do love the health stuff in the sense that I do kind of think like 50 years ago was old. Now really, like if we could be smart and survive long enough, we should be able to be, if you live to 150, you can probably live to 1,000. By the time you get to 150, they're going to have figured that out, surely. So I'm kind of like, you just got to be so grateful. We live at a history of time. We are the first generation of this planet in human history that actually have a fighting chance of like, you're no longer laughed out of town if you say that. You go back to 100 BC, nobody's going to say you could live to be 1,000 maybe one day. It's like things are changing fast, and it's a fun to try to be on the right side of that, try and protect and sort of also sort of do the best things for your body so you can live a happy, empowered life. That's the goal, isn't it?
It's wild. I mean, it is a wild time to be alive, to be honest. I recorded a podcast very recently about the microbiome, and we've got more data in the last 2 years than we have in the whole of human history on the microbiome and how it impacts our health. It's like when you just think about that for a second, it's just literally wild how fast this stuff's going. And I heard David Sinclair speak recently at an event, and he's talking about, the stuff they're working on in the lab at the moment and how extending life length and some of the things that they're 20 years ahead of anything we know right now. It's absolutely wild.
You're so dialed into this stuff. What's your, tell me about that.
I think Steve Jobs said it well, where he said, we need to clear out the old for the new to make way for the next generation. And we should be focusing on making this journey amazing and ready for the next, and not having billions of people not ever dying. I do think that we can extend life, but really we should be extending happiness and, the quality of our life. And I'm, to be honest, when, some of my colleagues, friends, whatnot say, I want to live to 180 or whatever. And I'm like, I'm happy if I get to 85 or 90. And, I really am. I'm really, truly because I want to enjoy this journey and leave a legacy, with some children that carry on that mission and leave the world a little bit better than I found it.
But also, it's actually the right way to live, because what you're saying is that I'm focusing on living today. And I'm going to let the rest of it take care of itself. And listen, by the time you reach 85, if somebody's figured out how to add a 0 to that, well, great. But actually, you're right. You know, it's like today is a gift. It's that thing, isn't it? Past is history, future mystery. The now is a gift. We call it the present. And it's so true. And it's so easy to get swept up in the whole thing of like, we're always striving, always looking for, you know, tomorrow or the regrets of the past. And, you know, it's such a reminder for all of us to try and stay in that moment.
One thing I want to touch on quickly is because being Tim Biohacker, which is a label that's lasted for some reason, but is if I get sick or I share something or if I have a chocolate croissant or something or other when I'm traveling, people are like, but you're Tim Biohacker, you shouldn't do that. Or why are you getting sick?
But that's them putting their expectation onto you. You live as you like. You've earned that right, you know? And also it's so nice and relatable for people to see Tim Biohacker having the odd chocolate croissant. You know, it's like, it's okay. It's like, it's good, you know. I mean, you know, I have so many moments like that. You know, I stupidly injured myself sort of doing something stupid yesterday, and you just feel vulnerable and a bit kind of like, you know, when things, but it's like part of life. You're going to get injured. You know, you're going to have days where you feel terrible, you know, days where you look terrible, you know, days where you know, and it's like, welcome to life. And I think the great thing about humans and our hearts, minds and souls and the sun coming up every day is we can reset. And it's such a sort of gift, like the Almighty made the world like that. The sun goes up and we start again, 24 hours again. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very true. And I mean, this is one thing that, again, resonated with me about your journey. And I just want to touch on it a little bit. Is like, you know, you write about anxiety and self-doubt, but, you know, some people call you the toughest man alive. You know, what are you terrified of?
I think I struggle with that. I really do struggle with those sort of labels. And as I say, like, it's not the reality. The reality is I struggle kind of masses with all of this thing. I mean, in terms of what am I terrified of? I mean, it's a long list of things I'm nervous of. You know, I try to sort of not let terror rule my life so much, but, you know, it probably wouldn't take much to put me in something to feel that raw terror again. I don't think anyone's immune to that. I actually find as I get older, two things. One is that I realize there's so many things I am super nervous of and get pretty anxious about. But secondly is that it's okay. And I've slowly over my life adapted and it sort of gained some skills and tools to be able to deal with that. But in terms of the anxiety stuff, I mean, like, I actually find, I mean, ironically, I find being on camera really nerve-wracking. I find being on stage really nerve-wracking. I find big groups of people I don't know really nerve-wracking. And yet I spend so much of my time, ironically, in those situations. And I've learned, like, it's okay. Like, every day, all of that is training. And, like, get over it. It's okay. You can do, like, it's fine. Welcome to the real world. You know, we're not called to run and avoid the things we're nervous of. We're called to, you know, it's okay to be a man and stand up and, like, learn how to deal with difficult things. So I kind of I treat that as an inner muscle. I treat the things I'm nervous of, even like parachuting. I mean, since that accident, I mean, like, you know, people sometimes say, have you ever jumped again since? And for those who know the TV shows, you know the answer. It's like a daily, almost daily part of my life. We're jumping and skydiving and jumping out of stuff all the time. But again, it's no accident. For me, it's a conscious choice. Embrace the difficult, keep moving towards the stuff that we're scared of and train it every day. So for me, like, even walking here, I was thinking, as soon as I walk into a room and I see all the cameras, like, I feel like, but then I go, come on, like, it's okay. It's okay. Walk into it and, like, everything, the muscles get stronger, don't they?
It's funny because as we're walking here to meet you today, I said to Mark, it's like, I can't believe it. I've interviewed a lot of people, but for some reason today I'm feeling nervous. And I was like, actually, is it nervous or is it excitement? And it's actually, it's interesting.
You're kind. It's a good line. It's good for all of us. Like, I feel exactly the same.
So I want to touch on food and diet because obviously it's such a relevant topic and it's so controversial. And I'm going to touch on probably the most controversial one at the moment, which is, you know, you went fully vegan. And then you went completely the opposite direction. And, you know, what did it do to you?
Well, I think the first thing is with all of this, I'm very mindful is that I'm not here telling anyone what to do. You know, I'm literally, as we've been saying, on my journey and trying to do my best. I really am. And we try and seek out the good ways of living in our life. We try and seek out the good people in our life, and we try and gravitate towards the good. So I'm not coming from a place of telling anyone how they should live. I did, like, when I was in my late 20s, as a family, we went vegan for about 5 years, and it purely came from a place of like, my dad had died of high cholesterol, young, age 66. I lost him our first year of marriage, and it sort of rocked my world, you know, because he was such a wonderful guy, and Shara and me were just married, starting out, and, you know, I just felt like too young. It really was a really hard, just difficult time for me. And I just sort of felt such an unnecessary death. I look back now and I understand it a bit more, because he was on endless high blood pressure pills, told to eat endless flour and margarine instead of butter, you know, statins, you know, all the kind of, everything that was sort of wrong was like, and he should really be still alive. So I kind of feel I wanted to do whatever I thought would protect my health, and I also wanted to do whatever I thought would be good for the environment, you know, and as part of the journey, those two things, the headlines of veganism made sense. It's like, well, we'd do something good for the environment, and we'd do something good for our health. Of course, like, life and experience is a hard teacher. And I've you know, obviously totally changed it and realized actually veganism can be a disaster for the environment. And certainly in terms of my health, it was a disaster as well. So I got kind of, I got basically skinny, sick and weak. And then slowly got educated, you know, and then you know, again, it's so funny. Why doesn't school teach any of this stuff? Like how to eat healthy, how to train right, how to build teams, how to, like, you know, all the things that we need in life. Most of us, we learn it through failure. I've learned most of my things like through many failures. But our son at this stage Jesse was like 15. He was really struggling with his skin and with his tummy. And like, we just thought, we've got to sort this out as well. And we just went to like 4 or 5, the top people at various Running Wild, sort of Hollywood, you know, star friends who sort of had been on the show, were just well dialed in with this, recommended, and certain people kept coming up. But they invariably said the same thing, is Jesse needs, and all of you need, the nutrient density of organ meats. You know, you need some liver and this sort of stuff in your life. And I thought, hold on, but this is the opposite. And then the more we learned, the more we realized actually that's right. And I went away filming. Jesse, I came back. He was there, like, you know, 2 massive T-bones going, you know, butter, salt. Like, I was thinking, you look, and I walked in and I went, why? But first of all, you look amazing. You look happy. Your eyes are bright. Your skin's cleared up. He goes, I feel unbelievable. I said, that's great, but surely this can't be good for you. He goes, I'm doing what like everyone said. Like, and then we all got educated, and it actually, once you sort of see it, the sort of scales come off your eyes, you realize, of course, it's how we've evolved and designed for tens of hundreds of thousands of years to thrive, you know, on natural food. And I just think if I could say one thing for sort of, you know, young people, it's like, just avoid the processed food. That I come from a generation where our parents, you know, our grandparents will eat natural food, you know, potatoes, you know, liver, bacon, butter. My grandpa lived to 96, was it? He had a fry up every morning. Butter, sourdough, natural sourdough bread, like sort of lots of eggs, lots of salt, everything that then my father didn't do, because his doctors and the health guys were saying the opposite. And we come from a generation where when Mr. Kellogg's comes along and says this is, or Mr. Weetabix comes along and says this is going to be great, or, you know, we kind of believe it. And now, one of the great blessings of modern life is that all of us are less, you know, we're not sold a story any longer. We're more like questioning of like, hold on, is that right? And like, let me challenge that a little bit. And the collective power of knowledge and the internet has allowed us to challenge state narratives of what is good for you in terms of pharmaceuticals and health. So we now live, and have done for many years, a really natural life. We eat naturally. We're outside all day, good quality water, lots of salt, barefoot as much as we can, laugh at ourselves a ton, you know, eat just natural food, lots of meat, lots of eggs, lots of Greek yogurt and honey. We have a wonderful honey business called Mamabuchi. There's raw organic honey that is beautiful. And I don't know, it's just so obvious, isn't it? Like, nature made this stuff, made honey, made berries, made, you know, we have lots of fruit. I suppose I did for a little bit go a bit more carnivore while I was just having meat. And I think now it's much more kind of like, I realise you have a bit of the spectrum, you know, the rainbow of it's animal based, you know, so lots of, Shara would say we tend to eat probably quite similar things a lot. I think if I had a luxury in my life, it would be a great chef who could cook with all this stuff, really diverse things. But personally, I'm quite a creature of habit. So I kind of really don't mind like a big sort of, hamburger that I've made with fresh ground liver mince and, beef mince and some nice camembert on top and the Greek yogurt, honey and berries. I'm like really happy with that.
Except for the camembert, it sounds like everything you'd eat when you're out in the wild on your own, like the honey and the mince.
But it's how we've evolved, I mean, my type of survival stuff, I suppose I built the early shows on always eating terrible stuff, and so I'm not eating a lot of, bugs and grubs and all of that sort of thing. And actually, I used to eat a lot more liver. I actually don't really enjoy it. I mean, it's one of the reasons we started Modern Savage, the supplements companies, because I know we should be eating more of the heart, spleen, lung, liver, testes, all of this, but it's not very palatable. So we try sort of then just make it really easy and accessible for people. But our default is a big grass-fed steak. Happy.
I mean, it sounds perfect. It sounds actually very similar to the journey I went on, and I went on, pretty much vegan or majority plant-based, and I went down to 59 kilos, and now obviously I sit at 77 eating, I went carnivore for a while, which was actually very tough, but great. And then it comes to a limiting period, and then you start adding various fruits and veg and things like that. And I find it to be the sweet spot. I mean, I love blueberries and some strawberries.
It's exactly the same, exactly the same journey. And I love that. And actually, there's so much we can eat, and there's so many, the great thing about things like social media and Instagram, every day I'm finding like, wow, that's an unbelievable cheesecake, like made with beautiful raw milk and, vanilla beans and these sort of things. And it's so great. Humans are so clever. And I love that sharing of information, and everyone's sort of always down on social media and stuff. But actually, I think the positive side is you build great communities. I mean, you were saying you built your whole wonderful sort of health optimization world on people like-minded people who are passionate that you met through Instagram and stuff. So I kind of feel similar as well. So many, I love keeping in touch with all the adventure buddies and what everyone's up to, all the fun stories and community. And that's a beautiful side of it.
I think this is one of the underrated things in health, longevity, biohacking, whatever label you want to give it, is the community aspect, actually. But
it's a big part of health as well, you could argue. I mean, you know all of this, all the blue zone stuff, but actually the more I read, the one thing that really separates it is not the food you're eating or the exercises you're taking or it's actually the community you have. And I think, didn't they find that the people who lived the longest was this weird sort of group in New York? And they were all smoking and drinking, but they all live forever. And they've realised, because after every meal, they all sit around and sort of gossip and talk for a few hours. And community is so key for our happiness in life.
Well, I mean, Gary Brecker once said, and I've quoted him many times on this, is that when he was a mortality statistician, they looked at the surveys for everyone, and they could predict someone's life length within 2 months from a survey. And the one thing that predicted shorter life length by 50% was loneliness.
Wow.
And so it really is the impact. And again, part of the reason why I do the summit and the podcast and things like that is for the community, because we thrive with the best people around us. So you're saying with your team and the same with my team, it's like we lift each other up instead of drag each other down. And I think that makes life so much more valuable.
Yeah. And you've done that beautifully, and people are so passionate about so much of this stuff. I mean, my default is that I'm probably a bit more of a loner in some ways and much more sort of introverted, I think, than I've got a sister who's much more outgoing, and sort of she always goes, I'll be much better at your job than you. You hide away. And I do probably hide away a little bit with the family when I'm not working, but I do have that community of just a really solid group of great friends who kind of, who've known me all my life. And I do like that wider community of over the adventure world and the health world as well, that is full of just very positive people generally. And I love that. I mean, I'm coming to your summit in London in September, and actually so many friends that come out of the woodwork and go, oh, I can't believe you're speaking at that. That'd be great. And it's like, I like that. Normally it's like, if I'm doing these sort of things, it might be to I don't know, big companies, a bunch of insurance guys in the States.
If you've learned anything from my podcasts, please give us a subscribe and follow, because this helps us get much better guests ongoing. Thank you very much.
This has really created a sort of great, I'm actually really looking forward to it. So that one I'm not dreading.
Modern processed foods may fill you up, but don't fully feed you. You eat plenty, but your cells still come up short on what humans actually need to run on, and what we've evolved needing. Bear Grylls built Modern Savage, a supplement and food brand, when he saw that gap for his own family, especially after being vegan for so long. The adult blend gives you grass-fed bison organs, whole food vitamins, collagen, probiotics, and gut-friendly protein. Bioavailable, no synthetic fillers, and for the kids, Mini Savage uses grass-fed colostrum to support growth and immune function too. For training days, the BG Summit Stack has an awesome list with creatine, NMN, PQQ, electrolytes, magnesium, and plant-derived D3 and K2. His family owns it, develops it, lives it, and tests it on themselves. I take it because the guy who built it feeds it to his own kids. Now, you can't get a better assurance than that. Check out Modern Savage range at modernsavage.co.
I'm really looking forward to it as well, to be quite honest. It really is amazing how health is going mainstream. I mean, I think we followed each other on Instagram for a while, and it's like I've seen, like, for instance, Jeremy Piven recently has been in touch. I don't know if you know Ari Gold from Entourage, actually.
Okay, yeah.
So one of my heroes, I would say, in the TV. But like so many people like Paris Hilton and all these like big names, which health is becoming mainstream and becoming more fashionable. And I think it's an element of everyone loves that. It's like the best of the best. It's like the mainstream world with the health stuff that's actually helping us springboard.
You said it beautifully today in something you Instagram, and you finish with health as wealth. And it's true, it's like, it's worth investing time and energy and care to try and, live a strong life and to be, I know it takes a bit of discipline, but all the great things in life take a little bit of discipline, and I know it's balance as well. But I think it's good to have a kind of routine, do your morning things and train and do the difficult and do it when you maybe don't always feel like it. And of course you're going to have a few days where you're just out of it. It's fine. Like we all need those times as well. But discipline to create healthy habits in your life pays off such big dividends, I think.
So I want to touch on just a couple of things. One was that after your diet change, your wife wanted you to get a coronary scan.
Yeah.
What did it show?
Well, it was so interesting because she was going like, everyone's happy and healthy and doing great. And it's so great seeing Jessie thriving and, but your arteries are going to be like furred up to death. This is going to be a disaster. All you guys do is eat raw salted butter and steaks all day. And I must say, I was a little nervous. I was thinking, hold on, this one I can't get wrong. Because, I had my dad in the back of my mind, and it's like, so I did kind of hear her on this. Anyway, I went to Asim, Dr. Asim, who's, what's his surname?
Malhotra. Very dear friend of mine, actually.
He's been so kind to me. He's been great. And I'd met him and saying, I said, I've got this sort of concern. He said, Bear, let me just do everything. Like we did a full CT, sort of calcium score, arterial scans. I will really go deep on this. And he did, and he rang me up. He goes, if I see 10,000 people, there'll be a handful will have a low as inflammation score as you have. It's like, good job. And it was like, really, all we were doing is just like eating natural food and staying away as much we can from the processed stuff and being outside and training. And again, everyone always thinks I must train like crazily. I'm actually not a natural athlete at all. I don't go crazy training. I do, maybe 40 minutes a day and try and walk every day as well. And so it's all kind of simple, manageable stuff. But it was really reassuring for me and for Shara. Listen, famous last words. Who knows? Probably a massive heart attack tomorrow. Who knows? Like every day is a gift. But it was reassuring that actually, he said, if you have inflammation that is that low, you will not have ill health in your body. He said it's just such a great marker for anything. You're not going to be riddled with cancer. You're not going to be, about to have sort of double sort of heart bypass. If your inflammation is that low, that's good. So, and now I try and just do a couple of times a year, good blood test. And my cholesterol naturally is quite high, but I just think it's familial that, my inflammation and that fasting insulin levels really low. And it's like, I take that as a good sign and then try and crack on and live life.
Amazing. I love Asim. He would be at the summit as well, actually. He's become a very dear friend over the last, since 2020, I guess.
Well, he's been amazing, and he's been brave, and he stood up to a lot of things, and he's got such incredible knowledge in his head. And, it's so reassuring that people who are such experts in their class and also humble guys I wish the world kind of actually listened to all this stuff more. It's just you're fighting such a big monster with the pharmaceuticals. And, actually in my world, I actually get to meet a lot of the, I was with the CEO of one of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world recently. And I said, just reassure me you're not the devil incarnate. And it actually was quite reassuring that he was sort of a good guy, and I think, I don't think all these institutions are sort of dark as such. I just think there's, it's a lot of people doing a little bit, and before you know it, the agendas can be a bit skewed. But thank goodness for people like Asim standing up and actually sort of looking at stuff and doing stuff that's not all driven by money and.
Yeah, I mean, Asim is mission led, to be quite honest, not money led, and that's one of the things I love about him. And it's the integral approach, which I think is very rare. So okay, I want to touch on Modern Savage because it's quite an interesting brand you're bringing out, and you could have attached your name to someone else's stuff, but you've created this, and I think it was primarily driven by family. Do you want to just tell us about Modern Savage and why you decided to bring it out?
Well, first of all, it's the first family business we've ever done in my whole career. We've done our TV stuff, we've done books, we've done live shows, and we've done a few endorsements of various things over the years. And along the journey in the health world, I've met so many great people who've been inspirations. I mean, Paul Saladino, who's become a great friend over the years. I'm always learning. And, we looked at various brands, but ultimately I wanted to do something that was a family business. I only want to do one thing and I want to do it well. I'm not going to start loads of family businesses. I've said to all of our team and our family, if we do this is it. We're in for the rest of our life. Whatever else we're doing, this family, we've got to make this work, and we're going to stand behind this. But it was born out of a realization that we were just getting so many different supplements. I'm always kind of like seeing something that makes sense. Oh shit, I should be having more zinc or magnesium or something's the thing. Like, this thing's great. And then 6 months later, somebody goes, actually, you want to be a bit careful and not having too much. It's like, oh God, and the supplement list grows. And I realized, hold on, I know so many great, really smart people. I'm just going to ask them, if you had to do the ultimate supplement that just had everything in it, what would you do? And, bear in mind the base level was I want to get more of these organ meats into our family's diet, because they're not going to be eating, despite the image of Bear Grylls' family, munching bison testicles for breakfast. The reality sadly is not that, they're not going to be munching a lot of kind of spleen, heart, liver sort of. But I know this stuff's so good. So I wanted to have that as a baseline. Nobody had done it with the bison organs before. So I kind of wanted that to be kind of the base of it. But then I wanted to add in everything that I've just learned over the years. And all these people came back saying this. And we sort of compiled the best. We've done 3 really simple products. And it's all just a scoop in the morning. You put it into... And we've done Modern Savage and then Mini Savage, which is the kids one. But they're just scoops you put in a smoothie, you put in a yogurt, you put in pancakes, you put in desserts you're making. And just a great way of getting all the good stuff in based on the organs. And then we've done a Summit Stack, which is basically for those people who want to take it, turn that dial up a bit, are into all the longevity stuff, want to start adding things like, it's a morning scoop, of all your electrolytes, but also all the creatine in the NMN and all these things. We've put in all your vitamin D and your magnesium and your zincs, So we've kept it simple, 3 products, and it's meant to be a solution for the family. That how can you know if you can just do one thing for your family's health into a smoothie, into a glass or into a glass of water in the morning, you know you're getting everything your family's. And it's not a replacement, by the way. You still got to kind of like, you know, it's a life, it's a lifestyle, you know, be outside, swim in the rivers, be barefoot, laugh, have your salts, all of this sort of stuff. But it just means you get that base level of really good quality grass-fed stuff that, again, is quite hard to access sometimes. If you're only going to get your vitamins, your minerals, and your nutrient densities from actually stuff you're buying in as food, even like the oranges and the fruit you're getting, it's actually very hard. So we want to set just families up with that base level. Modern Savage was always going to be the name. And and I'm really proud of it, you know, kind of win or lose. It's like, I really believe in this stuff. And I would say out of all the stuff I've done, people seem to be more excited about this than anything. We had a crazy number of people sign up straight off the bat. And we launch in September. So yeah, God willing.
I can't wait. And one thing I think I read that was in it was colostrum in one of the products.
Yeah, so the Mini Savage, we took the testes out and we replaced it with colostrum. And it's really great. It's really creamy. Really, it's wonderful. But again, you know, especially for kids, I think if you know, you can give your kids that sort of great colostrum as well. I mean, that is nature talking to you. It has everything in it. And maybe some of the adults want a bit less of that and a bit more of the testosterone boosting stuff. So we try and cover all the bases for the family.
I love that you've used colostrum, to be quite honest. And it's one of the most powerful things I think that we can have. I actually take it every morning on an empty stomach, just because it's just so good for the immune system. In fact, I know multiple people that take it on a daily basis, and I say, like, let's say a small group of us that have been trialing it. And if I stop taking it, that's when I start getting sniffles or whatever. And then when I carry it on, it's like it supports the immune system so well. I mean, it's mother's milk, isn't it?
There you go. You know,
it's really, so including that in there was a ball to move. And I also love that in one of them, you've got D3 and K2, so the two together. And I think that's rather special because vitamin D helps move calcium around the body. Vitamin K tells it where to go. So if you're supplementing one without the other, it's madness. So I think it shows that the level of detail I've gone into making them was actually really good. And I really enjoyed that it was 3 things, not a whole host of...
Yeah, we just want to keep it simple, and we worked with great people. Ollie Matthews was really helpful for us. And, you know, we're a whole bunch of sort of real expert, good friends who've said exactly the same sort of thing. Hold on, what about adding a bit of this? But we'll tweak that and we'll, you know... but you're so right about colostrum, and people don't know that. And it's nice because there'll be a lot of adults who will have the Mini Savage stuff as well, but it's kind of there for you to choose.
Awesome. So it's coming out in September.
Yeah, God willing. Yeah,
I can't wait to
the
get my
sampling's
hands
all
on.
done. Jesse's been amazing with this. He's really been a driving force for us. You know, family are ruthless testers, the rest of the family. But it's like I say, it's a privilege to be able to start a family business together. It was always my dream to do something, all of us together. You know, it's like the only, you know, I know health is wealth, but also the real wealth for me in life is just keeping that family tight and doing stuff together and working together now in this capacity. Has actually the last 6 months been so fun. Really proud of it and grateful for all the support people have shown.
I love that. And I love the family side of you. In fact, one of the most charming things is that obviously you're very well known, but you know, you don't care like a lot of the people, and it's like bringing the family together and making it very family driven. My very dear friend of mine, Dr. Dominik Nischwitz, he's a biological dentist from Germany. He's a father of 4 kids. He's devoted to his mission. He's devoted to his family. Everything is about being an amazing dad in every shape, form. And it's actually very inspiring because I didn't have a strong father figure. There's you know, various reasons for that. But the thing is, it's great to see it in the world. And I think that's one of the reasons why Dib Dib resonated with me, because it's like, actually, there's this guidance of how to be an awesome human being, a good role model for your kids and family. So it's one of the things that, again, touched me about the story. And hearing you, it's all good and well to be researching everything online and looking at the ingredients in the supplement, but until you hear it from the man himself about the actual reason behind and doing it with the family, I think it's so important. And I think, you know, not to get too deep, but society today in the world we live in today in London and everywhere would be so much safer and better if we all had a role model that was like, this is not boundaries, the horizons that we operate within, and this is how your father should be, and this is the type of things that we do together, and this is the family unit, because I think that makes world healthier, happier, And instead of, figuring it out yourself, every generation figuring it out for themselves without this, we're doing it this way. And I love that. And I really would like to say that in this moment, because it's actually much more powerful hearing it now than actually just seeing it online before meeting.
Oh, well, I really appreciate that. It's kind of you. And I take it. Thank you.
I mean, it's great because it sounds like you had a really great father role model as well. And it sounds like you're passing that down instead of, I often hear some people that a great father didn't have a good father and they're trying to figure it out and doing it. And it sounds like it's nice that it's filtering down from generations.
Yeah, but you know what, like you were saying, your experience has been so hard and different. There's no prerequisite for we all choose our own how we're going to live. And I look at you and you're sweet. You have emotion in your eyes. I can see it now. It's like, you're going to make a wonderful, wonderful father one day, I'm sure. And just, our experience of our own fathers don't always have to dictate. It's you're starting your journey. And I look at you, I think you've got so much right. The way you're living, the community you're building, the values you set before you. And you know what? You'll walk into that destiny, and that's how life works. You'll get a few curveballs along the way, but you're choosing your path, you're writing your path, you're clearing your path. And you got great things ahead.
Thank you for saying. I mean, I've got the best mentors in the world, to be honest, and I learn from everyone around, and whether that's in a positive or a line that my grandmother taught me once was when someone was, not so good when I was at school. She said, "Timothy, darling, these people were sent here to teach us how not to be." So I learned from the best and the worst as well. So thank you for saying. Yeah. I'm really conscious on time.
You showed all of them. You showed all of that. Those experiences at school can be tough, can't they?
Yeah.
But life's about how we finish, not how we begin.
The clapped out old banger with the wheels falling off and says the Ferrari.
You know what? You're hitting Mach 3, and that's amazing.
So I want to touch on faith quickly, because again, this is another area that's important to me as well, and I think it's under talked about. A lot of people talk about spirituality when they become super successful, but don't necessarily talk about faith or their drivers. And again, I knew that faith was important to you and it's one of your drivers, but one of the things is the book that you recently released. And I just wanted you to touch on, why you wrote the book and, some of your key learnings from doing it.
Yeah, so the greatest story ever told has been a kind of just a phenomenon in our life that I never saw coming, and I think out of all the things I've done, it's the one I'm most proud of because it just brings people together and helps people to find hope and home and light and love in their lives. Now, I think faith is part of our arsenal of kind of weaponries. I see it like that in life, just like you're doing with all of your stuff. We try and have healthy bodies, and then we try and have healthy minds and, good friendships. And I think having a spiritual dimension to our lives is so important. You look at the great stories of old, those that survived the horrors of, prisoner of war camps or sort of whatever it is, just like survival stories or escapes. So often there's that light, there's that fire inside of that hope, that leaning on the Almighty. It's that quote of man is never as tall as when he kneels down. And I love that. I want to live life standing tall. But I also know that life is very humbling. And it humbles all of us at one point. It might happen early, it might happen late, but it will happen. Life just does that. And I think it's that greatest journey, to realize when we kneel before something greater than us and trust that it's for us and is good and is empowering and is helping us find peace, light and home in our life. For me personally, it's been a life-changing thing, and it's so much more than just religion or it's more than faith. It's like trying to describe what role does blood play in your life. It's hard to describe. Try living without it. I look at faith like that. It sets my compass and it starts my day and ends my day. And as I say, I actually don't go to church a huge amount, although I actually like it more and more now. But for many years, for me, it's not about that. It's the quiet moments of being able to kneel and ask for help and say sorry and say thank you, have gratitude in our hearts. I see it as glue to our family as well. Again, just be able to say a simple prayer over the boys every night before they go to sleep. And, it's none of this is rocket science. Mm-hmm. But the book I wrote was, as I said, the greatest story ever told. It's because, like so many of us, know stories about it, about the life of Christ. We know about the nativity or the crucifixion or the Good Samaritan, but maybe don't know the whole story. And the more I kind of learned, I realized, hold on, this guy was wild. And the story is the story of rescue and adventure and friendship and endeavor and adventure and sacrifice and power and love and healing. And it was like, wow, and so different from what I thought of it, especially as a kid growing up. We always had to go to like school chapel and it was like terrible. And I actually realized the heart of Christianity is about living free. And connected and full of life, love and laughter. So I wrote the story of Christ as a thriller, theologically 100% accurate, but I just told it as a pacey thriller because reading the Bible sometimes can be hard. I struggle reading a lot. So I wrote really short chapters, really short book, and it went straight to number one. And I would argue it's been the greatest kind of work thing I've done. I get letters every day from every culture, every country, every age, every religion. I get atheists and Muslims and, old people and young people and kids and like all these countries. And they all say the same thing, which is I had no idea of the real story. And it's touching lives and it's been a great privilege.
Amazing. Yeah, it was really nice to hear about that. And I think it's a genius perspective. It's a really genius way of doing it because
nobody had done it before. That's the thing. To me, it was so obvious. I thought, hold on, why has nobody ever like written the story of Christ as a thriller? So obvious. But well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words.
So, I'm really conscious on your time today. I just want to, before we do a rapid fire, just a few things. The team, obviously you've hung out with and adventures with some of the most incredible names in the world. One that stands out for me was President Obama, because I was a big fan of him and his personality. I'm trying to think, his first name is Bradley Cooper. Again, one of my favorite actors of all time. And also Ben Stiller. And what I wanted to ask you is, what was something that you learned from some of the most incredible people in the world, when working with them that you probably haven't voiced before?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it's that willingness to, and the seeking out discomfort and nerves. Because like none of these guys, Bradley Cooper or President Obama or whoever, they don't need the money or the fame. They're not doing the TV show for that. They're doing it because the outdoors lights people up in a way nothing else does. You've got to earn it. You're going to get cold, wet, hungry, covered in scars, a few scratches, and it's gonna beat you up a little bit. But at the end of it, you'll have a light in your eye, and the outdoors is a real star of that show. But what I notice is that every time they say, I'm really nervous before this. I remember Federer saying to me, he's more nervous doing this than the final of Wimbledon. And then I kind of think afterwards, but why is he doing it? And it's like, and then I realized, because these guys seek out that discomfort and the difficult. It's like we said at the beginning of our chat, it's like training. It's training time, the nerves. And I said this to him and he said, yeah, it's like if I'm really familiar with doing the really difficult and uncomfortable and nervous regularly, not just in big things, but just little all the time, and make it a state of mind, a way we live. Then when I'm break point down in that fifth set and all that, it's like that muscle is strong. You can't expect in life to be great in a crisis if you're never training for change. So I think that's what I noticed, their willingness to be vulnerable and to do the opposite of what most people do when they start to get success, which is sit back in the comfort zone, sort of preach at people and assume they're right about everything, and then you become a bore. The great champions of life are continually putting themselves in difficult situations to keep that sort of vulnerability and fear and anxiety muscle inside trained and ready. And I try and learn from that. It's a constant one for me because I find it hard.
It's kind of hormesis but life hormesis, instead of, putting yourself in cold environments or hot environments or whatever for your body to get used to the extremes. It's like extremes, but mentally. And I guess it's stretching that muscle. So it's a really interesting.
The little things go a long way. Like, it's interesting with cold water. Cold water, I would say, is one of the things that never gets easier. Every day, like you can do it every day. It's like, it's always hard. I think that's the point. And I think it's like that discipline of just doing a little bit regularly of the uncomfortable things in our life develops a state of mind and living for how we then proceed.
I think the only person with that exception was Wim Hof. I went to his home a few weeks ago and recorded, and it was just such a wild, amazing, what a human. I mean,
what a human. Yeah. But I kind of wonder, like, for him, he might be used to it, but I still think it's a shock every time. It's like, I don't know, maybe you eventually get to such a state. He's a force, isn't he?
He stood on the top of a rock at his training school with a waterfall going into basically ice cold pond.
Yeah.
Head first, arms by the side, off this thing straight in, straight after the interview. And we all did it, but I didn't do it hands free. Yeah. I put my hands, actually I jumped in like a little girl, but it was wonderful to see him in his element.
Yes.
And so that was quite a fun episode to record actually.
Really fun. But like cold water it reduces people fast. If you've never done it before, I mean, it's really shocking for people. I mean, I love the cold water stuff. The only thing that puts me off now is that everybody's doing it. But for many years, like, it was such a big part of my life for many years. It was always like, what, you jumped in the ice cold water? And now everyone's kind of on it, which is great because there is a power to it. But I think beyond the physical health, for me, it's that thing of like, you're just doing the difficult. This doesn't get any easier. This is hard.
In fact, that was probably the most thing I can relate to your work is that when I first did an ice bath and it was ice, we had cracked the ice. It was my friend's fridge on its back in the garage in Hampstead Garden Suburbia. And he cracked the ice and jumped in it and was doing, breathing. And I put my toe in. I was like, no way I can do this.
Yeah.
And then he said, your brain is saying you're going to die. You have to tell your brain you are safe. I'm here. I've got you.
Yeah.
And then I got in and then I just stayed in the fridge in this cracked ice. I'm like, I'm safe. He's got me. And he's one of my closest friends.
So great.
It's like, actually my brain won, my unconscious didn't.
Yes.
And that was a real resilience thing for me. So now, of course, when diving in a thing with Wim in Netherlands somewhere or other, once upon a time, I'll be like, I don't think I'll be safe. And it's now, I'm good.
And also it's so great doing it together with trusted people. I do think cold water like rewards that. I think it's a safety thing anyway, doing it with a friend. And also then it becomes oh God, there's a nightmare, I notice with cold water, the thing is now, what I didn't used to like was the pain because it would go straight to all the injuries, like pain. And now I realize what that pain is doing. It's that old blood that's sat in this elbow, like suddenly it's being pulled out by the cold and fresh blood's going in. So like, this is good. So now I really have a mindset change of like, this part of my really needed this.
Amazing. So, okay, some very quick rapid fire before we wrap up today. It's been really fun to record. What's one thing your body can do now that you couldn't do at 30?
Handstands and backflips. Yeah, like I just realized I don't want to end up being old and I've lost the ability to do a good handstand. I could always do it as a kid and then I just couldn't do it for years. And I thought, if I don't teach myself now, I'll never. So now I do it every morning. It's not perfect, but they're like, actually pretty good. So and the backflip I do on the trampoline every morning. I can't do it on the ground. It's just too high risk for me on the ground now. But I do it every morning on the trampoline. I like my bouncing. So like, the people who work for us, they come in the morning, they think I'm like mad. They see sort of jumping out the lake, or jumping in and out of the lake, freezing cold, bouncing on the trampoline, doing handstands. And do you know what? I don't apologise for any of it.
I don't think it's just the people that work for you.
Exactly. We're sticking on the thing of skidding in sideways, covered in scars, screaming, Yahoo, what a ride.
Amazing. What's the most stupid thing you've ever done to yourself in the name of health other than vegan?
Well, I think that was the most stupid thing. It was with great intentions, but it was damaging on so many levels. And And I'm not going back there.
What's one health belief you hold that most doctors would disagree with?
Nature is the best healer. It's all, listen, it's the heart of what my faith says as well. It's made this incredible planet. Everything is good, from the salt to the sea, to the sun, to the plants, to the berries, to the bison roaming the land, the connection with your feet, bare feet on the soil, all of this. Nature will heal you. You just have to go and live with some of the tribes in remote jungles, and they understand the power of the mushrooms and the things. Like, it's all there. And don't medicate unless you really have to. Seek out nature. Nature will heal you.
You don't need a red light device on the beach.
There you go. There you go. And sun those bulls at every opportunity.
Sorry, Carnivore Elias talks about this a lot. Okay, so what do you eat that would horrify most nutritionists?
I think, again, we're speaking to a crowd where this isn't unusual, but I think if you said I put in I get a real kick out of friends coming to stay, and I make them a Greek yogurt and put, beef testicles and bison heart and spleen in it with a modern savage scoop. And I put some honey in, it's delicious. And they go, this is unbelievable. And I go, it's actually full of testicles. And, listen, to this crowd, it's like, but to most normal people. So I quite enjoy that.
It's the nuts.
It's the nuts.
Okay, so the moment you realized that you were mortal.
Well, that's a continual thing. Every morning getting out of bed, everything, to be honest, everything aches, everything hurts. It's like, since my accident as well, I try and stretch every day and stuff, but stuff hurts. One thing I don't need reminding is of my mortality. Every morning reminds me of that. Yeah.
There. Thank you so much for your time today.
Is that where we're ending? I love it. Yeah. Very, very normal. See you all at the Health Summit.
Yeah. Thank you.
Right. So fun, yeah.
Today's guest created Modern Savage so his own family would be able to fuel up on something he actually knows will help them. Real ingredients, no fillers, the way our ancestors have for years. The whole range is at modernsavage.co. Check it out. You've been listening to the Health Optimization Podcast, and I'm Tim Gray. If you've enjoyed this episode, give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, and subscribe for more. Remember, if you want to learn how to take control of your health and you're sick of traditional healthcare and temporary fixes, you should come to the Health Optimization Summit. It's going to be even bigger and better than ever and packed with game-changing info. We've got over 35 industry legends joining us, including Barbara O'Neill, Dr. Josh Axe, Dr. Vonda Wright, Gary Brecker, and so many more. It's a weekend you will not forget. Grab your ticket now at hosummit.com/UK. See you next time, and remember, let's spread the health.